Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Mike Amos. We're coming to you strong from our studios on South Brundage Street in Troy, Alabama, where we get a good start to a cool morning. Hey, it's a cool morning out there. I would think that all you AEA or what we should say spring breakers from all over are heading to the beach or heading to the mountains or heading to Disney World, like my cohort Bill Rice Jr. is down in the friendly confines of a wonderful place. Probably Disney World, probably one of the great places to go in America, and with your children, at least once in your life, and you'll turn into a child yourself on that trip. Of course, it is spring break, and like we said, some folks are heading to other destinations, but at the same time, we've got a lot of folks staying right here in Troy, Alabama, and of course, we still got a lot of baseball action going on. Charles Henderson and Pike Lib were on the road this past weekend, and then a few of them are just taking the week off. Good morning, you on Today in LA. How you doing?
Morning.
Mike Amos calling from where? Great Beach, Florida?
Yeah, Great Beach, Florida. Quite a bit of people down here.
Is it going to be a cool morning, or it seems up here it's very cold?
Yeah, it's not bad. Here it's about 65 right now.
Yeah. Well,
it's sunny today, and then we got some rain coming in later tonight.
Well, the rain just won't stay away, will it?
Yeah, it's like just kind of one of those patterns. We're on, it's sunny for 2 or 3 days, and it rains for a couple days, and sun again, and rain again. It's kind of the way it works.
Well, and of course, we're looking forward to the week as we've got Troy University football hits the ground running today. Their first practice of the spring break, or first practice of the spring, and Coach Mike, I'm excited about it to see what it looks like in the spring.
Coach Summerall's put together a good staff, and the players seem like they're excited. Coach Rusty Witt stayed on as strength coach, and been watching a lot of their off-season program. They post a lot of stuff on Instagram, and all the guys seem excited. Of course, Troy didn't really bring in a lot of guys off the transfer portal. I mean, there's probably about 5 or 6, but other than that, it's pretty much the same team that Troy put on the field last year. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, like you said, I think there were 5 signees, and then 2 kids that came in out of the portal, 2 or 3. So you're right. We pretty much got the guys that brung us,
Yeah, and then Coach Poe, Al Poe gets the job at Missouri, so he leaves for Missouri. I'm not sure if his son that played at Auburn High School will come to Troy now, or if he'll go to Missouri. So I guess we'll have to figure that one out as well.
I've got a bet that I bet he goes with his dad, and rightfully so.
Yeah, you would think so. Of course, Troy baseball is red hot. They swept Louisiana Lafayette for the first time maybe ever.
Mike, that was awesome. Even though the coaches got in a fight on Friday, hey, everything went pretty good, I reckon. Is that right? What did you hear about it?
I don't know anything about that, man. You must have been there. I didn't know coaches got an actual.
Oh yeah, well.
Fisticuffs.
Well, I don't know for a fact which coach it was. I know it happened down the first base line, and their coach got into it with our coach. And I don't know the exact. I don't know the direct identity of the coaches involved, but they did get out in little fisticuffs right in the middle of the game.
Yeah, Troy won 7-1 on Friday, 4-3 on Saturday on a walk-off home run that went about 420 feet.
Who hit it, Mike?
I'll have to go back and look. And then on Friday they won again, 8-3.
Oh boy, shoot, that was a huge victory
So
for the Trojans.
if Troy beats Alabama State tonight, Troy will go to 15-5 on the season, which is a great start, 15-5, and it'll be a 9-game winning streak.
Boy, I tell you, I know they're awfully proud of that team over there. You know, the athletic director and all the folks that had something to do with this our new baseball coach has to be very excited on the start so far.
Yeah, it's been impressive. Of course, you know, some bad losses on the road to Auburn and Alabama, but other than that, it's been a really good season.
Yeah, no question about it. And yeah, then of course, like you
I
said,
mean, not just bad, but like I guess you would say blowout losses to Auburn and Alabama on the road. So you take those games away and play somebody else. The season really looks good.
Then tonight you can bring out your coolers and your grills and get you a place down the left field fence line, and you're in for a nice picnic. It's gonna be fun. Of course,
I think there might be some rain. I got to see what time the rain gets to Troy tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game could get rained out. It looks like 50% chance of rain at 6, 50% at 7, 40% at 8.
Oh boy.
Looks like some lightning might be involved as well. So I don't know if this game will get in tonight or not.
I don't know either. Coming off a big series like that, I don't know if the coaches care whether or not they play. You know, and of course right now.
Well, you'd like to get it in and get maybe some other guys a chance to pitch. Troy will be on the road at UT Arlington this weekend. Actually, this will probably be the last time Troy plays at Arlington. I think Arlington's moving to the WAC.
Yeah. Well, and more power to them. You know, guys, that's a long ways to have to go to play a baseball game. Yeah, you know, hopefully we'll get settled in before long. And of course, I don't know what kind of teams Marshall and some of those. Well, we know what kind of team Southern Miss has. They have an excellent baseball program. In fact, I would think going into the baseball season next year that Southern Miss will be about as good as any team in that league. Wouldn't you think, Mike?
In baseball, yeah.
In baseball, yeah. They've always had good teams, and so it's going to be a big rivalry right off the bat with Southern Miss, and then also, you know, you've got South Alabama and Troy. Those will be three real good rivals, wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah.
Well, Coach, I'd like to find out who got that big home run last night. I mean, this weekend. It tickled me. We've got some batters that are red hot.
Of course, we need to mention a local connection. Tootie Jones was the star player as Belmont upset Oregon over the weekend. She scored 22 points.
Did she really?
And led Belmont to an upset win over Oregon. So Belmont ended up playing Tennessee for the right to go to the Sweet 16. Unfortunately, Belmont lost, but they lost only by 3 points. They were actually up by 2 with 24 seconds left against Tennessee.
And Tennessee has a Troy girl on it, don't they?
Well, not from Troy, but she's a former Troy player.
Yeah, former Troy player, yeah. What was her name, do you know?
I think her last name was Dye.
Yeah, well, she was a very good player.
But amazing story with Tootie Jones. Of course, she coached Denisa Jones' daughter, star player on Charles Henderson. Everybody always said she was the best player on the team, and scores 22 points when they upset Oregon, actually in double overtime, 73-70. So, pretty amazing accomplishment from Tootie Jones, who I think is only a sophomore.
Yeah. I wish we could get her to come back here on the portal and let her mother get to see her play more. Wouldn't you like that?
I mean, I imagine her mom goes up there and sees her play probably a pretty good bit. But I mean, obviously she's had a great program. She knew what she was doing going to Belmont. She's been a starter ever since she's been there. So definitely congratulations to her. Big news though in women's basketball, to say the least. That Belmont almost made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Of course, that is a good program in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, we've got several other things going on. We've got not just baseball at a big weekend. The Lady Trojan softball team also had a big weekend, and we're just moving right along.
When did y'all get back from Charleston? That was a long time.
Got back about 6:30 last night, and it was a sad moment to watch, to be there and pay respects to my brother, and a lot of memories went through my mind during that weekend, and I was with some real fine people. The people up there were just so nice to us in Charleston, South Carolina, and we really owe them a debt of gratitude for all that they did for us up there. Of course, Charles Henderson and the Pike Liberal Arts team were busy on the baseball fields. We'd love to hear from you this morning, Billy, on how the Patriots did, and of course also
they bounced back. They bounced back and beat Pensacola Catholic in Enterprise. They beat them.
Well, Troy, they played them again.
Paulo Ars played them again and beat them, I think, like 12-3.
Are you serious? Golly.
From what I read on Facebook.
Well, that's really something, because they beat Pike Lib earlier in the week, and boy, what a win! That was a big win over Pensacola Catholic.
Troy softball went 2-1 over the weekend in Troy. They fell. They must have went against a great pitcher on Friday night. Got beat 1-0 in Troy, and then they beat ULM 9-1 and 6-4. Of course, everybody's NCAA tournament brackets have been destroyed.
Oh yeah.
A lot of amazing upsets. St. Peter's is in the Sweet 16. Didn't see that one coming. And Auburn just gets absolutely just blown out by Miami. I mean, Auburn looked like a shell of the team that played during the regular season and won the SEC. The SEC has been an absolute joke in the NCAA tournament. They've only got one team left in Arkansas, and Arkansas will be probably beat in the next game against Gonzaga.
Yeah. Well, how does
NCAA tournament though has been very shocking, though, to say the least. The only teams I got left are Gonzaga, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Duke, UCLA, and Purdue.
That's pretty good, Mike.
And then I got Arizona, Houston, Villanova, Kansas. So I've got 10 of the 16 teams left, but Auburn getting beat really killed me, because I had Auburn going to the Final Four.
Yeah. And I don't know why Auburn was not playing well going into the tournament, and I don't know what made us think they could go all the way to the Final Four.
Well, you felt like that they would pull it together. I mean, they had such a good matchup against Miami, you would think, but Auburn got in a bad situation late in the year. They kind of just, all they wanted to do was shoot threes, and you got a 7-1 guy and a 6'10 guy. I mean, I don't know why they didn't get it down low and try to dominate from down low, but these guys that are shooters, once they start shooting that three, they just can't stop doing it.
That's right.
Really though, if you're an Auburn fan, you got just devastated. I mean, a lot of people thought they were going to be a number one seed all year. Will Matthews had them cutting down the nets in New Orleans. That prediction did not happen.
Well, I want to mention the ATOs raised $125,000 with their walk to Panama City. The ATO fraternity at Troy University continued its tradition, and they walked hard and strong all the way to Panama City. 128 miles trip by foot to Panama City Beach, Pier Park, where they broke another record, Mike, by raising $125,000 for the Wounded Warriors Outdoors event. And what a great event it was. And like I said, $125,000 goes into that program. The Girl Scouts of Pike County, hey, how about of Troy, raised $13,000 on their cookie sale. And boy, I tell you, I could have had 2 or 3 dozen myself. I love those cookies. But
yeah, William Sullivan hit the home run for Troy to win on Saturday.
Big guy. He's the big first baseman. Big William Sullivan. That's great. And,
Troy was down 3-2 going in the 8th, and a guy named Johnson hit a home run. Leonard hit a home run in the 8th. And then Sullivan hit a home run in the 9th. So Troy hit 3 home runs in the last 2 innings to win the game.
Boy, wasn't that wonderful? And of course,
all solo shots.
I want to say Sullivan is from Wetumpka, Alabama. I want to say, and of course, I tell you, they're dancing in the streets of old Troy University today with a huge 3-game sweep of the perennial champion Lafayette, Louisiana Lafayette. And of course, they're
what team of Chase Riddle was in town to be honored?
It was in 1982, and I'm wearing one of their rings, Mike. The 1982 first team that Chase Riddle coached at Troy, and had a lot of those guys came back for a big reunion, and it wasn't just 82, but on down. 83, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, these guys played on some of the all-time great Chase Riddle teams that won several championships.
I think Betty Riddle was there. I heard people mentioning that on Facebook.
Yeah. She was quite a lady, and of course, but these guys were proud, and they were. I was able to meet with them on Friday night for a little while, and then I heard that it was even more former players came on Saturday. So it was a big event and a lot of fun, and a lot of great players came back to reunite with each other at the Troy University baseball games, and of course they stayed here through Sunday, and just had a great time. And those guys that put it on, congratulations on a great weekend, celebrating the life of the legend, the legendary Chase Riddle. And some of those guys were on the on a team that won 52 games and lost 7. One of those great teams of Chase Riddle, and a lot of tradition now at Troy University.
Would 82 have been his first championship? When did Riddle get there? In 79?
Yeah, I think this would be the first championship team that he had, and it's dated in here 82.
Did they never get rings back then?
They did later on, but they didn't for this team for some reason.
That is weird.
Yeah, but I think
the guy that hit the home run for Troy on Saturday is William Sullivan, sophomore, first baseman out of Orlando, Florida, Dr. Phillips High School.
Oh, I was thinking that he was from Wetumpka. That's how much I know now. You're right. But congratulations, boy! That had to be an exciting bunch of people. It was some hard feelings between them, you know, after the fight on Friday, and you know, I know that really hit pretty hard in a crowd.
If there was a fight with a third base coach near Troy's dugout, I can't imagine how the rest of that series went with that guy on third base the whole time.
Is that what the third you said the third baseman?
Well, I mean third base coach. I thought you said got into it with Troy's dugout.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what happened?
Well, I just know that I was thinking it happened down the first base line, and I would think that
it happened on the first base line.
First base line.
That'd be on Louisiana Lafayette's dugout.
Yeah, that's right, on their side, and it created a little havoc there for 4 or 5 minutes.
Lafayette is a traditional Sun Belt power. Looks like they're down this year though. They're 9-9. You know, Troy, off to start like this, you know, Troy can get really hot and can continue to stay hot like they are now. You know, Troy can get, if you get like around 38 to 40 games, that's kind of that magic number that makes the NCAA.
That's right. And of course, you know, that's a fun time if you get behind these Trojans and cheer their way to the playoffs. Wouldn't that be great? And they're off to a good start. And congratulations to Coach Hamid and his staff. You know, they got to be excited. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Big selection. Over 140 pre-owned vehicles. And big, really big deals. It's the big sale. Only at Premier.com. From Montgomery to Dothan. The best used car prices are at Premier. Save thousands during our spring break sale. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Montgomery, get ready for WWE Saturday Night's main event. The women of Raw take center stage as big-time Bex, the EST, and the Nightmare collide for the Raw Women's Championship. Plus,
I am a revolutionary. I am a visionary.
Seth freaking Rollins. It's WWE Saturday Night's main event, April 23rd. Tickets and Superstar Experience packages on sale now.
The all-new Troy Regional Women's Diagnostic Center brings all of the latest and advanced 3D mammography and breast ultrasound services to the Troy area in our all-new outpatient facility. Dr. Lauren Thorington, along with our team of certified breast specialists, read your mammograms, which are performed by our registered radiologic technologists, bringing the best in women's health care to the Troy area. Troy Regional Women's Diagnostic Center.
I wish you could taste how much better food tastes when cooked on a Green Mountain grill, but I can let you in on the reason that's true. Our pellets contain water, so they create steam while you cook, keeping your food moist. Does a gas or charcoal grill do that? I think not.
Come and see us at Southern Grill and Patio, just off the square in Troy.
It's easy. 29 down and drive. That's 29 down, and you drive today. Or Premier will double your tax refund on a new vehicle purchase. Tax season is car season. 29 down, or $99 a month, and drive today, or double your tax refund. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Yeah, here we go.
Happening
Back to our show, brought to you by Roadmart on the bypass in Troy. You need tire work done. They can do it better than anybody around that I know. Troy Bank and Trust Company, the only bank you'll ever need. On the line, Mike, Christopher Joel A. Chris Amos, Colonel Chris Amos. I've been, excuse me, Chris. I know this is more serious times than to start the show like that. But Chris Amos, Colonel Chris Amos, is on the line, Mike.
Well, Chris, did you make the trip up to Charleston as well?
I did. Man, that was a great weekend celebrating the lives of Bill and Ann Amos, and had a great time visiting with everybody and some people we hadn't seen in years. Some of them we had never met on Ann's side, so Great family weekend, and I think Michael will agree that we made the most of it. Had a great service. I'm sure a lot of people from Troy will remember Bill, but just a great weekend.
Yeah, it sure was.
Trip was good. Weather was great.
Yeah. Food was good. We ate a lot of good seafood, and we were able to have a lot of good fellowship. And Chris, you were a big part of it. And, ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Chris Amos of the United States Army is with us, and of course we're going to talk about a lot of things. Of course, he was born and raised right here in Troy, over on Orange Street, and over there where all the good guys were raised. And Chris, tell us what's going on with you in the United States Army right now.
Well, I think you wanted to talk about some things that are happening in the world today, particularly the situation in Ukraine. Kind of like we talked this weekend about the situation. I think the situation there has been a perfect example of someone like Vladimir Putin completely underestimating the willpower and the logistics and just the requirements of doing what he wanted to do there in Ukraine. They're logistically challenged right now. They're struggling to get restocked, rearmed. They're struggling to get rest. I think the Ukrainians are proving to be a formidable foe as far as them not necessarily going toe-to-toe with the Russian army, but doing a lot of things they're stalling the Russian army.
That word could be create havoc, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, because they have just so many resources, and I think like this is an example of Vladimir Putin, which it kind of comes off as a one-man war when it comes down to it. A lot of these forces are fighting tooth and nail on the Ukrainian side, protecting their homeland, and the Russian forces that are at least half conscripted, which means they're not volunteers, and they're reservists in a lot of ways as well. But at the same time, he has sent some of his best forces into this country, and they're not being successful. But I think we make the mistake a lot of times of thinking that this is all wide open, countryside terrain, where it's the exact opposite. It's urban terrain, which is the most difficult terrain to fight in.
Yeah.
And it's a situation, like I said, that I think Putin has drastically underestimated the situation. I think he went into it thinking he could go in with minimal manpower and can go in and basically intimidate the Ukrainians, kind of like he did in Crimea, and just walk in and take over and install another government that was more pro Putin.
The big question has always been: would the United States be involved in this war militarily? What's the situation with that?
Well, I think it'd be debatable that we're already involved. Well, we're not necessarily in direct conflict and direct contact with these forces, which would be, indicative of us, engaging with what would be the early stages of World War III if we did so. But instead, we're very proactive in making it very obvious, too, I think, on open source, media networks and so forth, about us supplying them. We've been in training with the Ukrainians and working with them since 2014 at a pretty high level. We've been, helping them train their forces, providing them with plenty of equipment and technology that I think is proving very useful in their ability to basically stiff-arm a lot of these things going on the Russian side. There's certain areas of Ukraine that are easier than others. The eastern part of Ukraine is pro-Russian. The western part is not whatsoever. So you've got kind of a country divided, and I'll make a long story short, it may come to a point where it becomes a war of attrition for Russia, where they basically just get so tired and exhausted with the forces and unable to resupply or rotate forces in and out, where they have to come to a point where they say, hey, what will you give us?
Yeah, I hope that's it.
Or on Ukraine's side, what would you give up? And I think it may come to that. It may come to where that eastern part is negotiated. But that's strictly my opinion. That has nothing to.
I understand that. I understand
that.
that. And I got.
The point thinking about what's it going to take.
What about Putin? Though? I mean, couldn't you just see a point where he just gets so frustrated that he just starts bombing to the point where they'll have to just, give up? I think is he not? Is he wanting to keep structurally some of these cities together? That they were able to take control, that there wouldn't be such a rebuild and having to, it could take years and years to rebuild some of these places if you bombed, I guess, too much. But seems like that's the only way he could win.
I think he's already there, Michael. I think he's already there. But I think on the same note, he has already destroyed, many of these cities.
Yeah. And some of the great art in the world was out of Kiev. Some of the, this was a cultural mecca.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. And it's a country that's already been involved with many things. That's where the Chernobyl nuclear plant is. It's in Ukraine. A lot of the military-industrial complex, and what I mean when I say that is, Ukraine has been a crucial area that's been doing business with Russia, even though they really didn't want to. They've been providing a lot of the kind of like the Lockheed Martin type of contracts. There's a lot of contracting that's done over there or down in Ukraine for the Russian army, as far as creating missile systems and tank armaments and things that help them improve in modernizing their war power. And so they've been involved on the tip of the spear in a lot of ways. So now they've, which is another reason why Russia wanted to be in that area, so they could really control all that.
Exactly.
Well, in some aspects, though, isn't this right now embarrassing for Putin and the Russian army? Our military, I feel like in the world's view, this is like a sign that Russia is not nearly as powerful as people thought.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
But this is not their entire army, though, Mike. This is just in fact, I don't know if this is their best.
I know, but I'm just saying a lot of people, Dad, thought this was going to be over in a week.
Yeah, I know it.
Now it's going into a month. I'm just saying, you felt like as growing up as a kid and growing up how powerful Russia was and how it's like, somebody that can go head-to-head in war with the United States. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Well, Michael, I think when we talk about that and think about that, in our own heart of hearts, that we, things that we know and things we see on the media, and to believe that, we think of the nuclear weapons. We think of the big weapons and the things that both of us have. But conventionally, which is how this war is being fought, and up to this point, there's no chemical weapons. There's been no nuclear weapons used. We are far superior to the Russian army conventionally, doing what they're doing on the ground right now. A lot of the Russian forces are reservists. A lot of the Russian forces, which is not a bad thing. I'm a Guard and reservist myself, and I can tell you, there's National Guard units that would, run circles around Russian armies in certain branches.
It's almost like this is like a civil war between countries, because a lot of these Ukrainians know the people that live in Russia. It's like a brother against brother, cousin against cousin. There's a lot of familiarity, I guess, with
and that's kind of worked against. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of worked to their disadvantage on the Russian side, because everybody, pretty much everybody can, or in some form or dialect, speaks Russian in this whole thing. The Russian army is not communicating very securely. They're communicating on cell phones. They're communicating on open source, communication devices. So they hear everything. They understand. There's no, language barrier like there would be for us in the Middle East. So they hear where they're moving. They hear what they're doing. They hear their screams. They hear their concerns, and vice versa, of course. The Russian can hear them as well. But
you know what the whole key to the whole thing, will this be able to go, all of this terror and this terrible war that we've been going through right now, will the Russian people understand what a bad person Putin has been. You know.
I totally agree.
They'll spin it in a totally different way.
Well, surely these people are not dumb and stupid, are they?
The really scary thing, though, to me, though, is the easy way out is nuclear weapons. You know, they've got the threat of nuclear weapons, and that's the easy way out. And I think, unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen with Putin. He won't be able to handle defeat, or won't be able to have the patience to win in the long run, and that's what's scary for the world. Yeah. Is that the nuclear weapons could end up being involved.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think when all this is said and done, he's going to become more of a pariah as far as, you know, how we look at the leadership and dictators of North Korea and places like that. If you really want to get some slant, and I totally look at this war, any of your viewers or yourself can look at just Google Russian TV. And if you can watch that, you can definitely see the slant that they're trying to throw to the Russian people. And it's probably a 50-50 thing, kind of like some sensitive topics are here in America. They're throwing the slant that this is a denazification of Ukraine. You know, they've become too westernized, and they've forgotten where they come from and who butters their bread in a lot of ways, I guess, too.
You know, right now, and I probably missed some, but you look at the United States and what they're going up against eventually will be China, Iran, Russia, North Korea, and China. You know, all four of those are, I would say, are our enemies, wouldn't you say?
I would, and a lot of the things that we're trying to do diplomatically are not going to have a huge effect right now. Along those lines, those powers that you mentioned, the economic sanctions that we're trying to enforce now on Russia are not going to affect the war, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when I say in the near term, what I mean by that is the next weeks and months. I'm talking the next years down the road. That's how those sanctions are going to have impact. But the idea that they're going to have immediate impact is kind of foresighted, in my opinion, because you know they've been planning for this for quite some time, obviously, but just a tremendous amount of miscalculations on how it would go. Yeah. I really think he thought he could walk in there and do exactly what he did in Crimea, and it would be all over. And here we are 4 weeks into the conflict, and 4 weeks in combat, in direct combat, is like 4 months to those people on the ground. You know, you're not getting any sleep. You're not getting any type of reinforcements. You're getting death by 1,000 paper cuts with attacks on your convoys. Stuff's not coming in when it's supposed to. You're not getting the sleep you want. And these drones are just driving them crazy right now, I think. I think they're brilliant in the use of drones and so forth. You know, drones don't sleep. Drones can be programmed to fly and engage as much as you want them to, kind of almost like a video game.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Boy, I tell you.
It's truly changed the face of war.
How does it work, Chris? I mean, we're talking about Lieutenant Colonel Chris Amos. How does it work as the military? I mean, the military is their own separate energy. I mean, does it matter who's in the White House when it comes to military? Does it matter if you have a Democratic president? Does it matter if you have a Republican president? They do regardless, aren't they?
Well, I think you have to understand that all war is political. War is a means to utilize a political instrument to achieve the objective that you're setting out from a political and strategic standpoint, for the most part. So yeah, I think there's a lot that's drawn to who the leadership is in a certain country, regardless of what side you look at.
Now, they've sort of kept it quiet since, Russia was actually leaning toward China for some help. What kind of help do you think that they could get from China?
Well, I would think China is Russia's only friend right now in regards to being able to deal with the economic sanctions that they're being dealt with right now on the national stage or international stage or global stage. They're going to have to be their best friend. And they'll be doing to Russia what we're doing to Ukraine as far as resources, maybe not necessarily manpower or anything physical, but strictly financial and maybe just influence at some of these areas that they're trying to utilize to gain ground.
Yeah, I tell you, it's something that
So
to be concerned about.
I mean, long term or short term. I mean, what do you think this is going to end? How is this going to end?
That is so hard to predict, Michael, because at this point here, we didn't predict that it would be even done. You would like to think that Vladimir Putin is one of the most efficient or tactfully or strategic adversaries we faced. And I think he's proven to be that, but he's also human. And I think it's going to become a war of attrition. And this is strictly my opinion. I'm speaking strictly as Chris here. It's going to become a war of attrition, and he's going to eventually determine what can he do, what can he achieve, because your people are not accomplishing, are not able to accomplish what he's wanting to get done. The political side of it, and within his own country, is going to continue to rise. The international stage and the global stage is not going to stop up anytime soon. He's going to be continuing just continuous political bombardments in the media and social media. At some point, it becomes just exhausting, and he has to determine what can he salvage in this, and I think that's probably what will come from it. I don't think he'll resort to chemical or nuclear weapons, because at that point it becomes a completely different situation. It becomes a situation of war crimes, and war crimes warrant an escalation of force, an escalation of response from the national community or international community. And I don't think he wants to do that right now, because he's having trouble handling this small country that's barely the size of Texas. He does not want the rest of the world coming down upon him in addition to it.
Yeah. Right now, all of our forces are under alert. Are we at where would you say our military stands right now?
I think we're at the same position we were before. I think everyone knows that we have definitely shifted some forces. I think they were already there in Europe. We brought some forces over there just to reinforce and assist with some of the humanitarian issues that are occurring in Poland and Germany, and that's strictly part of a NATO response. But as far as an American situation where we're doing anything in regards to preparing for anything, I think it's business as usual on our side.
What kind of military presence do we have in Alaska? I mean, Alaska and Russia almost touch. I mean, that's where I think you got to beef up the military presence.
Yeah, you talk about size. I mean, Alaska is huge. I mean, you can almost fit half of the western coast or western United States in Alaska.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Do we have a lot of military bases there?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think that.
Yes, we do. I mean, we have plenty of military there in Alaska.
That's the closest route from Russia to Alaska. I mean, at one time there was a land bridge between them.
Yeah.
That's right. And now I've asked myself the same questions, Mike, to be honest with you. But the situation there is a no-win for them as well. That area of Russia is, not inhabitable like it is in Ukraine. It doesn't have the strategic value. I think you think being close to someone is a good thing a lot of times. Sometimes you're just trying to get the band back together again to be able to do things in the long term, which is what I think Putin is doing. I think he's gonna, if he's successful eventually in Ukraine, he could possibly look at other countries that are not NATO aligned. But he's going to have, some competition there too. So I think he's proven that their conventional forces are not what everyone thinks they are conventionally. So they're a tremendous nuclear country. Comes to a nuclear power. But when you're doing the things he's doing right now, I think you're exposing a lot of weaknesses, and I think he's probably at some point just going to try to reduce that, and he'll try to hopefully negotiate a way to permanently cease fire and save face.
Yeah, we got to find. You're right. You got to almost find a way that Putin can save face. Or he's liable to be backed up in a corner and with no way out.
Well, when you step back and look at it, he's went into a country that's unprovoked.
Yeah.
He's attacked a country that did nothing to him other than just being a valuable piece of land and territory that would benefit him in his mind.
But at the same time, though, the country, like we were talking about earlier, the electronic, our work that we've been trying to will be our what is it, power bases? How many different power bases, electric power bases have they taken over?
I would probably tell you that it's probably more than we think.
Nuclear power? You talking about nuclear power?
No. The power plants and so forth. We've been concerned about that and him having control of that.
Yeah, I would think there's plenty of power grids in Ukraine that are completely out right now. Cell phone communications at a minimum. They have been very, careful about, cyber attacks there. I'm sure there's things on behalf of the Ukrainian army as well. That is one thing that we do.
Nuclear power plants was what I was trying to get out of my mouth with the nuclear power plants. Have they taken over quite a few of those?
Well, they've taken over Chernobyl, which was a big one, of course, which was not necessarily fully functional after the situation they had a few years back. But there's others there, and like I said, that goes back to probably the value of Ukraine to Putin on the military-industrial complex side, as far as being able to continue to get better at developing nuclear powers and just having an area that's strategically located to begin with for the Baltics and the Black Sea there. Kind of goes around and provide a southern, avenue of approach to countries in Europe.
Yeah.
Strategically.
Yeah. So that's going to help their navy out. The Black Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking, ladies and gentlemen, to Colonel Chris Amos of the United States Army. And of course, tell us a little bit about you, Chris. Of course, you've been in the Army for quite a while.
How many times have you had tours, Chris? 3, 4?
I've deployed 3 times. If you go back as far as Desert Storm, as a young enlisted soldier with the 1659th MCT, movement control team out of Troy. Turning point in my life there. Went to OCS not soon after that, and have deployed as a company commander in Iraq in 04, 05, and then went to Afghanistan in 2013 and 14 as a battalion XO, and primarily worked with the downgrading and the material retrograde of the Afghan bases that we slowly, phased out of Afghanistan in that area of operations. So I've got a couple T-shirts.
Well, we're proud of you, I'll tell you that. And of course, I know you can't just sit here and tell us all these things that you know, but we appreciate you sort of giving us a little detailed information about what's going on over there. And
I told Rice all the time on the show. I think Rice is about 57, and I'm about to be 46. If you're 18 through 60 and you're a male in the Ukraine, you're staying home fighting for your country right now. That's something to be said right there.
And there's probably going to be movies made about this, Michael, and it's going to exploit the true picture on the ground of what these families are dealing with when they've had to vacate, or you've got to put your family your wife and your children on a train or a bus and send them off. You have no idea where they're going. No idea if you'll ever see them again, much less see your husband again. Yeah. These bombardments and these conflicts are very, very intense. Yeah. And it's something that's going to be on the world stage for quite some time, even after it's over.
Again,
at that point, the refugees have to come home, or will hopefully come home to someone who's still alive.
Yeah, where are the majority of the refugees going? What countries?
Poland.
I would say so. I think the idea is to keep them in Europe, not bring them to America or anything like that, not like a lot of people think. I think Poland has probably taken the full blunt. Romania is accepting a lot. Romania is our state partner to the Alabama Army National Guard, so we're in constant partnership events and training opportunities with them. So we kind of feel like we have a personal stake in it as well here in Alabama as far as our working relationship with the country of Romania.
Yeah.
They're handling a lot of that as well as Germany. So I'd say Germany, Poland, and Romania are the three that are taking in these millions of people.
Now, these are some of our first-line troops that are deployed right now to Poland and some of those other areas. Is that right?
As far as our forces are concerned?
Yeah, I mean, that we have forces in those, just backup forces in those countries.
Yes, so what we have is what's called the European Deterrence Initiative, and it's also called Operation Atlantic Resolve. It's something that we've been implementing since the end of the Cold War. We don't necessarily have the presence that we've always had in Europe. We've had hundreds of thousands in Europe during the Cold War and up until 9/11, but we kind of phased out of that when we transitioned to the global war on terrorism. Now it's a fraction of that, but obviously the transition now from the Middle East is coming back to, the idea of possible large-scale combat operations in Europe and Asia. So you're seeing that kind of go full circle now as far as us making sure that we're rotating forces through there on, occasional deployments in the area to show a force that get used to training there, to understanding the logistics of operating there, and a show of force to protect our NATO brethren as well.
Our aircraft carriers, you wonder where they are at this time, and everybody worries about the nuclear threat. I've always been told that these huge submarines could be non-detected and could strike any force in the world, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Now, this is where you're going to have somebody from the Navy come in and talk about it.
but
I'm positive that we could respond through air, land, and sea with anything that would come about. So there's really no surprises in all this right here. All of it has brought the attention to that area, of course, but we've always been there. We've always had, forces in the area to respond to things like this. And I think we'll be in a good position if anything ever does.
But I tell you, we sure do.
So what about nationally? Have you seen an uptick as far as people wanting to join the National Guard in Alabama since the war started over in the Ukraine? I mean, what do the numbers look like for you guys? You guys staying pretty steady?
I would say that the recruiting right now is still consistent with what it's been the past few years. There's not as an emotional impact right now that recruiting tends to fluctuate with, and the ebbs and flows of people wanting to serve. Compared to the global war on terrorism, when we had attack on our homeland, huge uptick in recruiting and people wanting to serve. But right now, I think it's still consistent. I think there's still plenty of people that want to serve. Unfortunately, not everyone qualifies for military service, and that's one thing I think. When you're dealing with a volunteer force like we do, you're always going to have in today's society. The issues with people that are in the recruiting age of 17 to say 24. We still struggle with the same things that the American public struggles with. obesity, things that keep them from enlisting in the military, the medications, their health concerns already. I'd say 75% of the people that want to serve medically cannot. They're medically unqualified for military service because of their issues.
Psychologically as well, evaluations are important. But what is that? I mean, somebody out there that would be interested to join the National Guard, what all does that offer? I mean, as far as benefits and, I don't really know what all it offers. I mean, I know it offers, benefits, maybe possible college down the road, stuff like that. I mean, what all do y'all offer?
Absolutely. And, being National Guard, we offer the best of both worlds, Michael, and I appreciate you asking that. We offer the GI Bill, which is available to all military personnel when they join. And you really could benefit from having somebody on the recruiting side come in there and talk about that, and I can help arrange that if you'd like us to. But on the state side, here in Alabama specifically, we have what's called the Alabama National Guard Educational Assistance Program, called ANGAP, that basically fills the gap of everything that the GI Bill does not cover. There's student loan repayment programs. There's certification assistance available. A lot of people now don't necessarily want to spend 4 years getting a degree that's going to be something they could probably just get a certificate for, especially on the IT side, on the technological, on the cyber side. A lot of it not necessarily involves a degree, but certifications. So we're trying to stay with the consistent evolution of education, much less the workforce requirements of having certified people to work in these specialized fields like HVAC and cyber and IT. The military in general, but especially the Guard, provides plenty of opportunities to people to offset and maybe augment their current careers. You don't have to give up on your career to join the National Guard. I'm a perfect example of that. When I was, I joined the National Guard because it did allow me to stay at home and go to college. And, heck, I still wanted to play, to walk on the Troy baseball team with Chase Riddle. And he worked with me all the time about doing things when I had to do my Guard duty on the weekends and still run back over there. But, fortunately, I drilled right there at George C. Wallace across from the stadium, and I could run over there to the practice field as soon as I was done, and vice versa. So that was a unique situation, but just very fortunate. I heard you guys discussing earlier about those teams that were recognized, and Mike and I talked about it over the weekend in South Carolina about those many great teams that Troy's had over the years. So much to be proud about.
Yeah, so many great
people.
Well,
they're red hot right now. They've won 8 in a row, and
I saw that.
Alabama State tonight. So 14-5 to start the season is pretty impressive. What about the National Guard? Do you still have drill? Is that every weekend? Is that not every weekend, or what's one weekend a month? Is all that still in play?
Well, I think that's typically the most common response. We do 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the summer, or during the year at various times. It is a little bit more of a requirement now. I would never want to sugarcoat that. There's schools that you can go to and get additional training, or your traditional military education requirements there as you progress up through the ranks and get promoted and move up to leadership positions and opportunities. It does require a little bit more than that. I would never, shortchange or try to convince somebody otherwise.
Does this slogan still work? Does this slogan still work? Is sleep tonight, your National Guard is awake?
Yeah, I would believe that if you told me that, and they should, because I live it every day.
Yeah.
But no, our mottos right now are always ready, always there.
In this situation we're in now, I'm sure they're more on alert than recent times. Isn't that right?
That's right. Well, obviously, everyone sees what's going on in the world, and sometimes commanders, training requirements and training events to cater to what could possibly be put in play.
Now, what is your actual title again? Mike said Lieutenant Colonel. Are you Lieutenant Colonel or full bird Colonel?
Lieutenant Colonel. I've been DA selected by Big Army as full bird Colonel, but on the National Guard side, you have to wait for those opportunities to come around.
Would you think all the experiences that, of course, we were scared to death when y'all first were deployed, to to the Middle East, and you know,
he was only like he was only like 18 or 19 when you went over there, weren't you, Chris?
I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Now, when y'all first went over there, y'all were scared to death because propaganda was saying that they had all these bombs and nuclear weapons and all that stuff. It turned out that wasn't so. Is that right?
I think we found in Desert Storm that we definitely responded with the appropriate force. You know, we had 500,000 people in Saudi Arabia ready for that invasion because we were ready to engage in full-blown conflict with Iraq.
Yeah.
And when we found out their true identity and their true capabilities, you know, we basically, you know, took care of business and came home as soon as possible. Yeah. I think, you know, in the case here we're dealing with the Russia and Ukraine situation, I think if Putin could do it over again, he would bring probably twice as many people as he's currently using. But that would probably expose
and just.
I mean, percentage of military he's using right now. What is it then? I didn't realize he wasn't using everybody.
No,
well, I think that's easy to armchair quarterback. I'm not privy to the exact numbers, but I know he is using some of his best and brightest in Ukraine right now because that includes probably some of their special forces. Some of their cyber capability personnel. Yeah. They're coming at Ukraine with the best they can offer right now, with the exception of using their full arsenal of nuclear weapons and so forth. They're trying to do it without doing that because they know, you know, as much as we're, you know, second guessing what Putin thought he was going to be able to do, he knows that if he ever did use nuclear weapons or chemical weapons for that matter,
you know,
a totally different game as far as war crimes, and I'm absolutely positive it would be a different response that's being going on right now, which is us simply watching.
If all those guys that talk on television are correct, over 10,000 Russian troops have been killed in this war.
Mm-hmm. And there's been losses on the Ukrainian side too, Mike. You got to keep that in mind too, but. Can you imagine if the United States were trying to do something like that?
Yeah, exactly right. You're exactly right.
What Russia is doing. But, yeah, I think that's one thing that's probably being underreported is the losses on the Russian side and just their inability to do something that they thought they could do.
And I've heard this. Now, this is just Mike Amos watching television, that there were 4 generals actually have been killed, what I've heard.
I think there's been at least 4 Russian general officers killed in one form or another. Plenty of commanders, plenty of leadership within their ranks have been.
You know how they always say when their body bags coming home, hey, what if these body bags were American body bags? You know, Americans. Then listen, I can understand we don't need to be in this war if we can help it.
Absolutely, that is a true statement there, Mike. Because you know we're just now getting over the situation that we've been in, but at the same time we're completely capable of helping. I think you would see an escalated force of you know other countries in the area, particularly the Germans, the Polands, and any NATO country. You know, obviously the Brits.
You know, when you went over there as a young troop, a young man, and then later on as an officer, tell us about your other experiences.
Well, I'm coming up on the tail end of my career. I've been in the National Guard now for almost 35 years, and I'm coming up on 20 years of active federal service. And at that point, I'll probably be transitioning into something else and graduating, as we say, into the next phase of my life. But it's been a great career. You know, I actually left the civilian workforce. I had a great job in the corporate world and took a leap of faith when I came back from Iraq, and just followed my purpose in a lot of ways to go full time with this thing, and it's been a great ride. I've learned so much about myself and our country. It's a great country to serve. Work with so many great people, across the world. This has been a great experience as far as, someone who wanted to see and do things that mattered, and I think it's brought a tremendous amount of purpose to my life. And I think it's at a point now where I think I can move on. Sometimes you leave the military under your terms, and sometimes you leave the military under someone else's terms.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
I'm at that point now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
won't you step up and move down to 38 and be like your cousin Michael Amos, and you can retire down there?
There are certainly worse places in the world than 38.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you why.
There's a lot of battles going on at Seaside right now. It's been attacked by a bunch of young people. It's been pretty crazy. We've been hearing some amazing stories down the road from us, and great.
I can imagine.
Ladies and gentlemen, you couldn't ask for a better explanation of where you've been and what you've done. And of course, this young man was born and raised on Orange Street in Troy, Alabama. Went to Troy schools, and great young man, ladies and gentlemen, representing your Army in a situation that we haven't been in lately, and we appreciate those comments you made, Chris.
Thank you, Mike.
You come a long way from being a 6'4", 150-pound first baseman at Charles Henderson High School.
I was a catcher.
Right, sure was.
That was Bubba Richburg. That was the tall.
And I'll tell you this: his career was shortened with a hand injury that was about the worst thing a catcher could have. Was to injure a hand like you did.
Yeah, that was kind of a buzzkill, for lack of a better word. But you know what?
What happened? The guy swung the bat and hit you when he swung. Is that right?
Yeah. So obviously, I've never been accused of being short or anything but lanky. And I got a little too close to the batter during a scrimmage game in the fall of '91. I'd just gotten back from Desert Storm. I'd gained probably about 15 pounds of muscle, and was seeing the ball better, and I just got through having a day. I was 2 for 3 off our All-American pitcher Ward Thigpen in the inter-squad game.
That's
I was feeling really good about myself, and all of a sudden, whack!
Yeah.
The catcher's interference, it broke my hand.
People do not realize the pain and anguish in a regular game that a catcher goes through. You'll foul tip this, hey, you can't do anything with a foul tip ball,
No, and that's exactly what this was. This was a freak accident, and it was strictly intramurals from that point on as far as what I engaged in, and played a little bit of the adult baseball league in Montgomery and the cable league. But
I'll tell you this: he led the cable league in home runs, Mike. You had 16 or 18 home runs in that league, something like that, wasn't it?
Over a 5-year period, yeah.
Well, I was trying to give you. But
we're talking about baseball. I know you're a huge Braves fan. Of course, the great Freddie Freeman is no longer a Brave. He is now with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they brought Olson, who played at Vandy, a Atlanta native, in to play first base. I mean, I know a lot of people out there in the sports world are questioning the Braves not re-signing a legend like Freeman, especially coming off a World Series. I know I've talked to you a little bit about it. I mean, when it's all said and done, don't you think the Braves made the right decision?
Mike, let me tell you this: the person that you should be asking him this is his wife. His wife's a big Brave fan, isn't that right, Chris?
Oh yeah, and even my 11-year-old daughter can tell you. Who the players are by position. So
there's a lot of heartbreak all over the country by losing Freddie, because he was.
I know, but the Braves are getting 5 years younger. I mean, they were able to re-sign some other guys because of this. I mean, don't you think in the long run, as a GM, that he did the right move?
I do, and I think we're learning more and more about the situation. And I know you listen to the same things I listen to too, Michael. I think there was a little bit more than 50-50 intentions of going back to California along his family. and just being closer to home. Because as we learn more about the situation of what he signed for, obviously it was for a year more than he wanted, or than the Braves were willing to give him. It's for the same amount of money, basically. I know the taxes are all that kind of stuff are different as far as what he'll pay in California versus Georgia. But I do like the idea that now that I take the emotions out of it, which is what a lot of people are guilty of. I know I'm certainly guilty of the emotional side myself, but I think we'll be better off. He had a much better year than Freddie last year. He didn't win a World Series like Freddie did.
But you know, it's about like back when I was watching them, I would have cried like a baby if Mickey Mantle had been traded by the Yankees.
Well, that's kind of
hey, I was a huge Yankee fan.
Yeah, it would have been like if Chipper Jones would have left the Braves.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's kind of the way it is with Freddie leaving.
Yeah. Have y'all discussed what Chipper has said about the situation?
No.
No, we hadn't talked about that. Did Chipper come out and say something? I've been kind of in and out of it.
Yeah, so this is something you guys could get into as long as you want to, because I think Chipper now is being very vocal. At least he is with the Atlanta sports radio world about how it was handled on Freddie's side, not necessarily the Braves side. I think he has some advice for Freddie, who apparently was offered 5 years, $135 million at the All-Star break.
Oh God!
Freddie told him at the All-Star break, I turned that down. And Chipper told him, he said, and he's been very open. You could probably find some video about this. He told Freddie verbatim, "That's a very dangerous game you're playing right there if you're going to go free agency, because you're going to see all the pretty girls. You're going to see all the pretty girls in the neighborhood, and they're going to give you their best pitch. And it's going to be very unlikely that you come back to where you're from or where you're currently playing. And at some point, when the organization provides you their best offer, and you reject it almost instantly, the organization has an obligation to their fan base and their organization to do their job and continue to look at other options. And I think that's what the Braves did. I applaud them for doing it and have the audacity to say, hey, that's our line in the same.
That's right. Yeah. You can only go so far. You can only go so far. But I tell you what.
Well, I feel like Atlanta. The pitching they've got now. They added Jansen. The Dodgers closer. He's a phenomenal closer. Bringing him in for 1 year for $16 million. I feel like on paper this will be a better team than last year. Well, I feel like so.
Chris, what is your?
I feel like Philadelphia and Bryce Harper eventually. They're going to give Atlanta a run in the East. But other than that, I really don't see too much. And then big news in baseball, which I'm extremely happy about, and I think this is going to extend a lot of guys' careers, is the universal DH. Don't you think that's a great move, Chris?
I do. I've always been a traditionalist of sorts, Michael, and I know you guys have been as well, as far as how the game is played in both leagues, which is not the same. But, I think just to keep the fan base interested, I think to keep the game moving and exciting as possible, I think they've made a great decision in making that across the board.
We're talking about both leagues having a designated hitter. Is that right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do change.
Yeah, it changes.
From a strategic standpoint, it is different when you play in a National League park and an American League park. So now it'll be across the board. You'll be extending our players' careers as they transit. Maybe a Freddie Freeman even. Yeah. That can play longer. And I think that's kind of the angle he was thinking about when he was asking for 6 years possibly, or any player for that matter, just getting at that 30-year age mark.
Let me ask you something.
I think it was a great decision by MLB.
Yeah.
Chipper Jones would have hit 500 home runs if they would have had the universal DH. He would have ended up being DH.
But Michael.
And more importantly, Dad's probably not even aware of this. They're going to have a pitch clock. The pitchers will have to get rid of the ball, because there will be a pitch clock, and that'll speed up the games as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Let me say one thing too, though. And I was talking to these former Chase Riddle players the other night. What if they, everybody knows what a fastball is. Everybody knows what a curveball is, and back then they knew what a slider was. But the key, the big pitch that they got to know now, or they won't stay in the major league very long, is a changeup. It's a major league changeup has changed baseball tremendously. What do y'all think?
Well, slider, changeup. I mean,
but Michael, the changeup.
I think the biggest thing in baseball though is the fastball moves so much now. Don't you think, Chris?
I think velocity is at the highest level it's ever been across the board. You know, there's one thing that pitchers love or hitters love to see is the fastball. I think you see very few people effective on the off speed.
But you're catching though you can't caught many pitchers. It seems like the great pitchers are the ones that can change speeds. You know.
Absolutely, I think in it Greg Maddux that talked about, hey, I'll even tell you what I'm going to pitch, but I'm going to throw a slider or a change up away that you're going to think it's going to look beautiful to you, but it's going to fall off the end of the table.
Yeah, that's right.
The great
dirt, you'll never touch it.
The great closer for the Yankees, Rivera, threw a cutter, and they just couldn't hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just more pitches now that, and they have velocity and they move.
Yeah.
That's what's so crazy.
But you can only throw so many. You can only throw so many pitches. So I'm sure that cutter was probably called a sinker ball back years ago. You can only do so many things off that hand right there.
When Brian Meadows pitched, he averaged, I think, 92 to 93 miles an hour. I think in a game, Brian told me he got up to 96 one time. Every guy that comes out of a bullpen on a roster in Major League Baseball throws over 95. Most of them throw over 97, 98.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you this:
it's just like a different world.
The kid at Pike Liberal throws 91 almost every pitch. I watched him on the count. 89 to 91. The kid from right here in Troy throws.
You're talking about Drew Nelson.
Drew Nelson, yeah.
And he'll only get stronger.
Yeah.
He'll get to Auburn. He'll get to wherever he's going.
Yeah. He's gonna be fun to watch. I'm gonna go to Auburn to watch that young man play. I tell you, he's a good one.
I watched a guy from Tennessee over the weekend. Tennessee's got a guy in the bullpen throwing 102.
Oh gosh.
Good grief.
Oh,
can you imagine seeing that on a college baseball field?
But
it seemed like it'd be unhittable.
I wonder how hard old Warren Spahn could throw a fastball, and Herb Score and Bob Fella, they threw the ball over 100 miles an hour. That was a long time ago.
How would you like to hit against Bob Gibson, Mike?
Yeah, me. You're right. The mean Bob Gibson. Ooh. He threw at you. That was the thing about Bob Gibson. He throw at your head, man. You get where you didn't want to stay in that box,
Or Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan. Yes, sir. I'll tell you this: the story been told that the former Oklahoma State great All-American. What was his name? He played.
Robert Mentor.
Yeah. Well, all right. He'll tell you all about Nolan Ryan. Is don't go after Nolan Ryan. You're liable to get all your teeth knocked out. And that's exactly what happened to him.
Hey, here's something to look at too. When you look back at Nolan Ryan and Bob Gibson, those guys, look back at the number of innings and the number of pitches they threw per game.
A lot more than you're exactly right.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That is something that blows my mind to this very day. Just how we're, constantly on pitch counts and this type of, the analytics of the game now is just kind of taking over the decision.
How about that young man, that tall young man that pitched for the, I can't tell you now. What was a great fireballer?
You talking about Randy Johnson?
Randy Johnson. He bails me out a lot. Randy Johnson. How would you like to bet against him now? That wouldn't have been fun either.
He was like 6'11", right? He
was
6'11".
Yeah.
Maybe 200 pounds, and he was. To me, it seemed like he was almost touching the batter. His arm, he was letting go of the ball halfway to the plate.
But see, another thing, what he did. Look at. You can't see this, but I'm putting this over my face. Now you see almost everybody pitching this way. Is he grabs the ball and puts it in his glove and sticks it over his face, and that's the way our young man does from here in Troy.
Yeah.
where they deliver. Well, I tell you what,
Kind of stares you down, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly right. We went from the war to baseball. That's good. You got a 14-year-old that's
about how our family works.
you, Chris. You got a 14-year-old that's quite a player. Now it doesn't hurt that his daddy was a catcher and knows how to call pitches.
We were at practice last night, and I'll be quick with this. I was at practice last night, and I even called during our inter-squad game, and he was pitching, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Where will he go to high school? Prattville?
Yeah, he's in the public school system here in Prattville, so he'll go to Prattville High School.
Of course, that's one of, let me ask you this. You live in Prattville, and that's a great town, one of the fastest growing towns. It just seems like it's got everything to offer. But this, another high school. I believe Prattville is due for another high school. What do you think?
I think you're going to see a lot more thought processes along those lines, Mike.
Because it has grown. Yeah.
Go ahead, what?
But it is, it's grown so much,
Oh, yeah, you're talking about 30,000 kids, or 30,000 in the city of Prattville. It could definitely warrant another school. And could easily handle it. So maybe at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, you may see that.
Yeah. Well, I know that.
It's the largest high school in the state, isn't it? Is that not right?
Prattville High School?
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it?
No, it's not. I don't think it's as big as Hoover's and some Birmingham schools.
Mike, let's quickly look at the brackets a little bit.
We got the basketball tournament recap of the weekend. Gonzaga beat Memphis 82-78. Gonzaga had to come back. Memphis was up by 10 at the half. Arkansas beat New Mexico State 53-48. The only team left in the SEC. Texas Tech came back and beat Notre Dame, who absolutely destroyed Alabama. Texas Tech won 59-53. Alabama was horrible against Notre Dame. Duke won 85-76. Upset of the weekend, North Carolina. My brother-in-law was jumping up and down. He's a huge North Carolina fan. Both his parents went to North Carolina. North Carolina upsets Baylor 93-86. UCLA dominates St. Mary's 72-56.
You better go ahead.
Purdue beats Texas 81-71. Cinderella is dancing St. Peter's after upsetting Kentucky. St. Peter's beats Murray State 70-60. Other games of interest, we talked about Auburn's shocking loss to Miami. Miami beats Auburn 79-61. Iowa State continues to impress. They beat Wisconsin 54-49. Providence destroys Richmond 79-71. Kansas wins a close one against Creighton 79-72. Villanova beats Ohio State 71-61. Another shocking game here. I thought Tennessee would go to the Elite Eight at least. Michigan beats Tennessee 76-68. Houston continues to impress after beating UAB out of
Very impressive.
They beat Illinois 68-53, and then the best game of the day was Arizona TCU in overtime. Coach Cross coached at TCU for a year before he came to Troy. So TCU, Arizona, final score Arizona 85-80. So another great game over the weekend.
I watched that game. That game went down to the wire now. I'm telling you, to the wire.
Your Sweet 16 is set. Gonzaga against Arkansas. That will be a tough game for Arkansas. They do have a really great scorer in JT Notte. Texas Tech against Duke will be a defensive matchup. Texas Tech's great defensively. North Carolina against UCLA. That's two name brands that everybody will be wanting to watch.
And UCLA's playing real good right now.
Purdue against St. Peter's. So that St. Peter's will play Purdue. Iowa State against Miami. Nobody had that in the bracket, I guarantee you. Kansas against Providence. Michigan against Villanova, and Arizona against Houston. Those are your remaining teams in the NCAA bracket.
Boy, that's going to be great. And boy, that was a good show today, Mike. And we really gotten involved in the war and the basketball. So hopefully we can give all our attention to basketball and not have to worry about this that's going on in the Ukraine. Of course,
Chris, I have still never been to the Braves' new ballpark. I don't know how many games I went to turn.
Yeah, when can we make that?
Two a year, yeah. Maybe we can go over and catch a Braves game this year.
Would love to, man. You're totally missing out because it is a great experience. It's a great place to watch a game. It's the best I've ever been into. Tons of stuff to do for the kids. Tons of things to do before and after the game. Let's do that. Let's make it a point.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Yes, sir. No question.
I guess in Montgomery, the Biscuits. How's the minor leagues going to be affected by the Major League Baseball lockout? Will the minor leagues start on time? How does that work? Do y'all ever go any Biscuits games?
We do. We didn't go any last year, and I don't think we went to any the year before because of the COVID situation or whatever the situation. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think the minor leagues were going to be playing either way.
Yeah.
So they're business as usual on their side because they're independent businesses as well. So
want to mention our lead sponsor, Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody. What do you think about that?
I was on the road coming back from Pensacola, and I got behind a couple of Ram trucks. I know you drive a Ram truck, Dad. Those are beautiful trucks. Technologies.
Have great acceleration. Great acceleration.
Yeah, they're really nice trucks.
But I tell you, I want to hand it to your mama. She drove pretty much all the way over there and back. That's a long ways to Charleston, South Carolina. I'll tell you. Beautiful city. Beautiful city.
Yeah, I was in Pensacola over the weekend, and that's a really beautiful city, up and coming city. I feel like anybody out there, that downtown area is extremely nice, beautiful place to visit, clean city too. Went to the Blue Wahoo Stadium yesterday, actually the AA Stadium, and they have a great minor league ballpark right on the bay. If you're ever down there, you can catch a baseball game down there as well.
Yeah. Chris, thank you so much, my friend, and of course you've added so much to our show today, and we appreciate it very much. Lieutenant Colonel Chris Amos, and we appreciate you so very much. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.